This is Xan Anderson. Welcome to the Principal Podcast today. You know, when you accept that life is hard, like truly accept that life is hard and it's going to be hard, it actually becomes easier. It's when you expect your life to be all roses and perfect that you set yourself up for feeling constantly frustrated and going around feeling like you've been robbed. Just expect that life's going to be hard. And get comfortable with the idea that it's okay to be uncomfortable. Today, we're going to talk about how taking the short-term hard way is really the easy way. Even in things like parenting. Let me give you an example. Let's just say, like a really small, simple example. Let's just say your child comes to you and says, "Hey, can I have a sandwich for lunch?" Now, I got to tell you, I can make a sandwich for my children really fast. I can make a sandwich in probably, 30 seconds. And that would be the easy way to do it. I could just say, "Yeah, here's a sandwich, make it and give it to them." But what if I took the hard way, the slower way, and I took a little time to talk to my child and say, "You know what? You want a sandwich? How would you make it?" And then make them think. They can say, "Well, I need some bread, or I need some peanut butter or jam or whatever it is." Let them think it now. Say, "Well, where do you think the bread is?" "It's in the pantry." "Where do you think the peanut butter is?" And allow them to try to figure out their own problem. In other words, give them the opportunity to do them themselves. Now, some parents have a hard time doing this because they want to do everything for their kids. They almost need to be needed, right? But the truth is, as parents, we want to work ourselves out of a job at some point. We want to have our kids be really, really good and not need us at some point, hopefully a long time from now. But one of the ways we can do that is by letting them, appropriately, but letting them do as much as they can for themselves and teaching them how to do it. So instead of just making a peanut butter sandwich, I could slow down and take a little bit of the slower way and maybe a little bit of the harder way and just kind of walk them through and say, "Well, where do you think the bread is?" "It's in the pantry." "Think you can get it?" "Sure." "Where do you think the peanut butter is?" "Where do you think the jam is?" "How would you put them on?" "Well, I've seen you do it with a knife." "We'll go ahead and put it on. Watch them do it." Now, this might take you like 20 times longer the first time because they might struggle and they might spill a little of the jam or the peanut butter, make a mistake or whatever it is. But I can tell you from experience that doing something like this gives them a lot of confidence when they do it for the first time. There's big smiles. There's lots of confidence. Just say, "Yeah, looks like you know how to make a peanut butter sandwich yourself now." And that being willing to slow down and take the short-term hard way is actually the long-term easy way. If you teach your children how to make a sandwich for themselves, going forward for years and years, they'll be able to do it. They'll have confidence. They don't need mom and dad to do everything for them. Obviously we want to teach them. So we're taking the time to slow down and teach rather than just tell them what to do. Now, I'll make a confession. Sometimes I'll be hard at work and I've come home and the house is a little bit messy. And in my impatience, I'm embarrassed to say I've been impatient, sometimes even a bit angry, that I feel like I've been working hard and I came home and the house was kind of messy. And and that was the easy way for me. The easy way was just to get angry, just to get mad, just to get frustrated. And the hard term, there was this principle in this book called Atomic Habits. Said, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. I thought that was pretty profound. I thought, I wonder if there's a system we could put in place. And so my wife and I just kind of came up with this system, and it took a while. We came up with a system where we had a little chart and said, "You know what, if you do these certain things at these times, we'll make sure that we recognize and give you a little sticker. And at the end of the time, we'll give you some money for the certain amount of stickers." We kind of came up with this thing. And it came to the point where I come home from work, all the kid, the house was clean. Everyone was like, hey, I got my stickers, and hey, I did this. And we kind of set it up to, if you did certain things, you could get an allowance basically based on your performance. And it ended up that the kids really enjoyed doing their things because there was a system in place. Now, that system took a while to come up with. I mean, the easy thing is just to come home and be frustrated. But the hard thing is to say, okay, let's sit down and make an actual system and think it through. But I got to tell you, things have been way, as far as the house being clean. The real thing is I'm less concerned about the house being clean, more concerned about just my kids learning responsibility, learning, take care of things, learning accountability, and learning how to work. Those are important attributes to learn. Those are the most important things. It's less important to have a clean house. More important to build character in our children, right? Now, I'm not saying my system was the best. There's probably things I'm sure that are shortcomings with it. But the point is, if you can just expect that life's going to be hard. Today's going to be hard. Tomorrow's going to be hard. That's okay. In fact, it's great. We like hard things. In fact, nothing good happens without hard things. You don't get to be physically fit or, educated. You don't get to be strong without having hard things. And so if we can expect that, that's okay, the life's hard, and then intentionally take the short-term hard way, which in the long run becomes the easy way, making the peanut butter sandwich, for example. If I teach my child how to do it and they learn how to do it for years and years, I may not have to make them a sandwich, and they'll have the confidence knowing they can do it themselves. Not that I wouldn't make a sandwich. I'm just saying they'll be able to do it most of the time. If I put up a system, which is kind of hard to come up with a system to help my children learn how to do work or to be responsible. Again, there's probably better systems that I've come up with. But that short-term initial, like coming up with the system, it's better. And this whole thing is, it breaks down to the principle. It's the principle podcast. It breaks down to the principle of the law of the harvest. And the law of the harvest says we reap what we sow. In other words, if I'm a farmer, can you imagine a farmer not planting their crops in the spring, kind of doing whatever they want the whole summer? And then in the fall, when all the other farmers are harvesting their crops, saying, oh man, I forgot, I'm going to cram for the harvest because I want this instant result. So he plants the seed and says, come on, grow fast. And that doesn't work that way. You cannot cheat the law of the harvest. But the law of the harvest says you got to work. And the law of the harvest, like we've talked in previous episodes, is as real as gravity. I mean, you can align with it and work hard and just realize life's hard and work. Or you can ignore it and to your peril, and like gravity, we've talked about this many times, but like gravity, you could use gravity to build yourself a hydroelectric dam. You could align with it by building a ski resort or a skydiving company and make money off of gravity. Or you could ignore it to your peril and fall off a cliff. Well, it's the same thing with this law of the harvest, which is I can either work hard and take the short-term hard way, but at the end, it gets really easy. Or I can try to just always take the easy way and just get the short-term result. And that actually is, in the long term, the harder way. So, this works everywhere. I mean, it's kind of hard maybe to learn to floss your teeth every night. So it's easier to just forget to floss. But down the road in 20 years, you may have dentures, which might be even harder. So which is better? To have the hard term, I'm going to floss my teeth, or I'm going to have dentures later on. Getting an education, same thing. It may be hard to say, okay, I'm going to get as much education as I can. I'm going to go to college or get a master's or learn a trade, learn some kind of skill that you're good at and get better at it. But what's harder, being unemployed later or getting an education, being passed up for job opportunities because you didn't put in the time, taking the short-term hard way. So the point of this episode is to try to have you think about, can I intentionally just expect, first of all, that life's going to be hard? Number two, get okay with that. Get okay with being uncomfortable. Number three, and then after I'm okay with saying, okay, life's hard, it's going to be uncomfortable, find ways to take the short-term hard way. When I say short-term hard, I mean based on principles, doing the right thing, even though it's hard. Teaching your children, slowing down, even though it might take a little extra time. Putting your phone down, even though it's nice to be able to surf social media. Put your phone down and spend time with your children, even if you're kind of addicted to your phone. Take the short-term hard way, which becomes in the long run, the long-term easy way. So that's the thought for the day. Thanks for listening to the Principal Podcast. Thank you so much for joining the Principal Podcast. I'm so glad that you listened and took the time. You know, I'm on a mission to help as many marriages and families as I possibly can. I would love to hear from you. You know, things that keep you up at night, that concern you about your family, your marriage, and what things we could talk about on the Principal Podcast. If you like the podcast, please like, subscribe. You can check out my book on Amazon. It's called What I Want My Children to Know Before I Die. And again, thank you for supporting the podcast.